Chronicles.
Welcome to Brown Boy Chronicles, a podcast about brown boys sharing their life experiences, their perspectives, their ups, their downs, and basically just getting together to crack some jokes. We hope you enjoy. Welcome to another episode of Brown Boy Chronicles. This is Lucky.
This is KB.
This is Harvey.
And today we got a special guest with us, Lenny. We met Lenny through a mutual friend. And basically this episode, we're going to be talking to Lenny to see what he's about, what he's not about, and like get his take on the dating scene. So without further ado, Lenny, you want to give us a little blurb about yourself?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on the podcast. Big fan. I've listened to every single episode, even the latest one that just came out. I think this is such a good platform that you guys created, so I really appreciate you guys inviting me here. But my name is Lenny Rampersaud, based out of Philadelphia, born and raised in the suburbs right outside of Philly. I identify as a first-generation Guyanese American. My family comes from Guyana. Before that, they have been here for many generations. And my parents came over here in the late 70s and early 80s. So I think I'm still very culturally tied to that, even though I was born and raised here. I work in the pharmaceutical industry, been there ever since I graduated college. And I'm a brand ambassador for Single to Shaadi, and it just kind of fell from the sky out of nowhere. So it's been an interesting ride so far.
Yeah, that's cool. But do you mind explaining like more of your background of like being a Guyanese Indian American? Because I'm be honest, like until you told me that, I was kind of unfamiliar with Indians being from like Guyana.
Yeah, for sure. So we're not Indian, and you'll hear like Russell Peters and other comedians make fun of us when we say that, but we're Indo-Carribean. That's how you address and identify us. Most of us come from Guyana and Trinidad, but there are some from Jamaica, Mauritius, St. Lucia, and other parts of the Caribbean. And what a lot of people don't know is that Indo-Carribeans are the second largest demographic in the West Indies. And actually, there's a government alliance called CARICOM, and it's headquartered in Guyana. And you'll see a lot of Indo-Carribeans that are politicians and members of that. You know, our current president of Guyana is an Indo-Caribbean Muslim. And it's funny because like our ethnicity comes from different parts of India. I actually did a 23andMe because I had a feeling like most of us were South Indian, but then like I have friends that are Mulu or other parts of South India, and I'm just like, how come like I don't really like look like them? Like I don't look like most of the South Asians that I've run into. And my 23andMe showed up like 60% South Indian, and then the rest was like a mix of all the rest of India. And it's crazy because if you look up some of our last names, my last name is Persad, which comes from like, I think Middle India and some of South India. But then you have a lot of my family, their last name is Singh. And that only comes from one part of India from what I know of. And that's the northern part where Punjab is. We're like a mix of like different parts of India, but we lost a lot of those roots because my ancestors were tricked into slavery through indentured servitude during the British Empire, which started in the 1700s. The Indians arrived in Guyana and Trinidad in the early 1800s. And like, you know, you can look this up. There's actually a very interesting article on Revolio Mag, which is on Instagram, and they have an article about this. But the real history, and this is even in a movie called Guyana 1838, where they show the Indians getting tricked into slavery. Like they were promised like a better life, this land of opportunity other than America. But the British Empire knew that the Indians were some of the best agriculturalists in the world. And why not bring them to the Caribbean where there's plenty of land and is perfect for agriculture? So the Indians, when they got there, they did get paid, but it was like pennies, dude. Like, you know, you can't survive off of that. And the only difference between the indentured servants and the slaves were that the indentured servants were allowed to keep their family structures in place and the slaves weren't. And most of the slaves were from Africa. So like that was really the only difference. And, you know, because we've been there since the 1800s, we kind of have this disconnect from our Indian roots, but there's so many similarities still there. So that's why we identify as Indo-Caribbean, Indo being the Indian roots and Caribbean being our cultural roots. We're equally both. And this is something I struggled with when it came to my ethnic identity. And I was listening to the last episode before this, where you guys kind of touched on that a little bit. And like, I always thought to myself, like, am I less Indian because I don't speak any other language but English and my family sounds like Jamaican people? And, but am I less Caribbean because, I grew up with Bollywood music and my family's Hindu? And I just came to realize that I'm equally both, and that we're our own ethnic identity and we should be respected as such. And we've been there for many generations and many years. So, being Guyanese is tough. And, being on the dating scene, it's been tough. And I think the reason why is because there's enough similarities where I can identify with Indians, but then there's enough differences that can distance us. And like when it comes to dating, there's enough similarities where it can work. I've seen people in my family make it work with like Desis from India, but then I've seen enough differences where it doesn't work. It all comes down to, can both sides respect each other culturally,
I mean, it kind of seems like a glass half full, half empty. So which one do you kind of focus on a little bit more? Do you focus on the half full or do you focus on the half empty?
I go back and forth about it sometimes. I think when I was younger, it was definitely half empty and faced a lot of backlash growing up. I'm a little older than you guys, so I'm going to be 36 soon. And my day and age when we were younger, racism was like taken so lightly. Everybody was just blatantly racist towards each other. And like, I would walk down the hallway and I would be called a poo, called Osama, called sand N-word. I can't make this stuff up. Like, this is stuff that like I heard, my sister even heard a lot of it. Dothead was a big one. Walk down the hallway in high school, thank you, come again. And like, there was barely any Indians at my school. There was like not even a handful of us, and none of them were in any of my classes. And most of them were younger. So I kind of felt like I was on my own team. I kind of faced that with like South Asians too. Like, I've had Indian people call me, you're from the fake Indies, because my family's from the West Indies. So I've heard I'm from the fake Indies. I've heard I'm a fake Indian. I've heard that you guys aren't real. One of my best friends, I got into an argument about this last year. This is recently. He's the same age as me. And I tried to tell him, like, explain to I lived with him in college. Okay. We've known each other since we were 18. And can you believe we're both 36 now and he still can't accept that I'm Guyanese? I tell him everything about who I am. He's met my family. He's heard us talk. I told him the history of my people. And he was like, no, it's not true. You're just Indian. And I hate that. Like, I want to write a blog post about that word Indian so bad, because I just feel like when you just say we're Indian, you kind of just dismiss our whole history and like our whole cultural identity about who we are. Like, I don't know. Have you ever watched Indian Matchmaking on Netflix?
Yeah, I did.
Bro, I couldn't get through that first episode. That lawyer lady, I just couldn't.
Aparna, yeah. So I think a lot of it is edited and it made her look a little harsher than what she is. But Nadia was on that show and she's Guyanese. And she goes through the same thing that all of us Indo-Caribbeans go through. When we talk to a South Asian, she was on that date with that gym dude, and she was trying to explain that she was Guyanese, and like she kind of struggled with it a little bit. And I think a lot of Guyanese people do.
Where he was basically like, yo, so you're basically just Indian, after she tried to
explain it. And it's like, oh, so you're basically just Indian. I'm like, how come we get dismissed like that? How come like when Punjabis or Gujaratis or Malayalams describe who they are, you guys just don't say, oh, you're just Indian? But how come when we describe it, we're just Indian? It's almost like we're being outcasted because we come from a people that's been twice removed through oppression. And it's like, I just never understood that. And I think your generation and age is a lot different. Like, you guys are a lot more open-minded to like how big the South Asian umbrella really is, you know?
You face that with like all types of Indian people, like that kind of arrogance, I guess, like Punjabis, Gujaratis, like when you try to like explain your identity, or is it more like the like people that believe that they have like privilege, like the Indian privileged people?
No, I've heard it from every type of South Asian. Yeah, like I remember I was at a house party and Punjab. All right, so I'm just gonna give you an example. So Punjabi music, I grew up with it, believe it or not. Like if you go to Guyana, they play like old ass like Bhangra music. They love Bhangra music. They sing the songs, they sing the lyrics and everything. They don't understand it. They don't understand what they're singing.
But do you know who Jazzy B is?
Yeah, I know Jazzy
Oh,
B.
okay.
Yeah. But they pronounce and sing all the words just like how the original song is. That's how much they love it. It's like we're not Punjabi, but we're celebrating the culture. Like we love it, you know? And I was at a house party in college and this like old Bhangra song comes on. I'm like, oh yeah, like I know the song. And I'm like singing the song. I'm like jumping up and down. This Punjabi dude next to me on the dance floor, he's like, are you even Punjabi, dude? And I'm just like...
This is like what we talked about last week. Like, yeah, I don't know why like our people are so defensive.
Yeah, and I'm like blatantly, clearly I'm not. But why can't I celebrate the culture? Like, why can't I appreciate the music? The music's great. You know, Punjabi music paved the way for like one of my favorite genres, which is urban desi music. You know, if it wasn't for Punjabi singers, like we wouldn't have this like fusion genre that's like been blowing up and it's like such high quality music to me. Like I have such an appreciation for it, you know? And so even I've dated a Gujarati girl before and she said her parents prefer a Guju. So that didn't work. I dated a girl that was Rajput and she was like, yeah, my parents will never accept you. And I'm like, why? We're both Hindu. Like there's enough similarities there for us to like work out. And I'm not religious. I'm just saying this for like family acceptance sake, you know? And she was like, I can't, like my father's high up in the community. He's part of this Rajput organization and it would never fly. I'm like, all right.
Is that like still prevalent in the United States though? Like that's like such an archaic mindset, but like I feel like in India more so than the States, but I obviously maybe disconnected from it.
Yeah, so both of us were born and raised in America, and this was back in 2011, so it wasn't even that long ago. This was like my last year of grad school or right after I ended grad school.
Yeah, I think the caste system is definitely still very prevalent, especially in like areas where like the culture is still very like present, like in like Northern California, like Sacramento, right? Like even like within the Punjabi caste, like that stuff is still taken very seriously. So it all depends on like how much you're surrounded by that stuff to kind of like keep that mindset going. But if you're like in the middle of Pennsylvania, like us kind of, and that mindset fades away and you don't really like care anymore. Oh, she's Jatti or like she's Sani or like whatnot. But in terms of like dating pool, like what's the availability of like Indo-Carribean chicks? Like, like, do you have like a pretty big pool or not really? Like you think you're gonna have to like do more like I guess, is it still considered interracial? Like if you marry within like a different kind of Indian and stuff like that? And how's the family dynamic for you and your family? Are a lot of your relatives and stuff married interracially?
That's a really good question. So in Guyana, there's less than 700,000 people. 60 to 70% of them are Indo-Carribeans. And globally, there's not even a million of us, nowhere near a million. So that tells you like how little of us there are, but there's enough there where there's a community to build upon. Most Indo-Carribeans are in New York, where they recently officiated Little Guyana, which is on Liberty Ave, but it's like the only place in the world outside of Guyana that's like that. It's got the highest population of Indo-Carribeans. There's Trinidadians there too. And so the pool is pretty small. It's usually very similar to like how other South Asians do it, through family, friend of a friend. Maybe it was a family that lived in a village nearby in Guyana that knew each other and they're all here in America. I have no family in Guyana, by the way. Like I'm pretty sure like most Guyanese people can say that all their family moved here to America at this point. And so your question was if I were to date another South Asian or date like another race outside of the South Asian umbrella is interracial.
Another Indian.
Like somebody that's not like, I guess, is that still considered like for you guys as like interracial if you marry somebody that's not Indo-Caribbean?
And just Indian, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah. So they will never use the word interracial, but they will say, oh, he or she is from India, or he or she is like from Punjab, or, you know, Tamil Nadu, or wherever it might be, but they'll never use the word interracial. And I don't know if that's the right word. Maybe intercultural.
Yeah, I don't think it's the right word.
maybe intercultural. But like, It's a good question though, because everyone's ethnic identity is different. You guys are Punjabi. I'm Guyanese. You have Malu people. You have Gujarati. The list goes on, right? And I think maybe it's intercultural, you know, and I think that should be acknowledged because there's going to be so many differences. Like, I've seen my South Asian friends that are in intercultural marriages, and their journey to get to this point where they are today was not a smooth road. There were definitely bumps in the road, so it's definitely something good to like address up front.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. It's so like, I guess not like frowned upon or whatever. Like people like backlashing you, right? For like not being considered like Indian. But at the same time, like if you marry somebody that's still Hindu, you guys are still like both Hindu, right? Like Punjabi people get married to Hindus all the time and it's not an issue. Punjabi people get married to like Sikhs get married to Gujaratis all the time. It's not an issue. And that's weird that people make that like a problem. Like,
I think it's a generational gap he's talking about. Like I hear it from like older people too. It's just like there's like an asterisk attached to it. It's just an archaic mindset, and I think it's just conditioning over the years of your formative years that it's hard for you to escape that type of shit. Our cohort, where like what Lenny was saying, we're just more.
I mean, I'm not talking about our cohort. I'm talking about like couples. I've seen many intercultural weddings like that I've done myself.
Like an older, like 30.
Yeah, like. Because I've been DJing for a while, right? So like it's all older people that are getting married that are like probably in Lenny's age group. I think also in Pittsburgh, it's more also like it's a kind of limited pool too. And I think it's just like people that are more progressive and they just like are okay with it more.
And I think it's just being a first generation Indian in America. It's just like you feel like you have to kind of satisfy your parents, right? For, bringing you here, giving you the opportunity. So like there's still this parental pressure that you have constantly. But that's what I was wondering about you, Lenny. Like, since you do have both like the Caribbean, like I would assume the Caribbean side of you or the Caribbean culture that your parents got brought up in is more open than the conservative, like Indian, like, you have to marry within the caste, blah, blah, blah. So like growing up, were your parents more open to you dating? Cause like, I'm be honest, like in high school and middle school, like my dating life was non-existent. I was afraid to like sneak out of my house and shit, So like, were your parents more lenient cause they got this other culture that they kind of like affected them?
So when it comes to like dating when you're younger, like, from when you're a kid to like end of high school, they like acted like it didn't exist kind of thing. It's like, I think it's pretty similar to South Asians, where like most South Asians where your parents don't really talk about it, like they never mentioned sex. Like that was like awkward as hell. Like they never brought it up. They never brought up dating. I do remember a girl called my house once in middle school and my dad picked up the phone. He was like, "What do you want with my son? What do you want?" And she got so shook, and he's like tiny. He's not like this big dude, but his voice is so deep. Like you never would think like this small ass dude would sound like that. So she got shook as hell. I never saw her again after that. Like that was in middle school. But I think afterwards, like, my parents they grew to like kind of let go a little bit, over time. And a lot of my family members, like my cousins, they're in interracial marriages. Like a lot of them married white people. I think that racism against Black people still exists. My ex-girlfriend was half Black, and they didn't really like her, mainly because of her race and also because of her education. They were like, "Oh, she's not educated enough." But I think like looking back on it, they kind of regret that now because they realize that she was a good girl. And we didn't break up because of that. But like that's part of the reasons why like I created Caribbean Crossroads on social media, was because like there's so many issues, and I'm sure South Asians can relate. But
what is Caribbean Crossroads?
It's like an online social media platform. It's like a group that we created, and we talk about things like this, like colorism and racism and inter-race racism. Like it's stuff that, I think needs to be addressed, because if we don't, then I don't think it'll ever get resolved. And we need to have our culture be more open-minded because we are evolving.
So was there still like beef like within like your parents, like when they lived in Guyana and like the Trinidad's there and like the Blacks, like they didn't mesh?
So Trinidad and Tobago is a different country with similar issues. But I can speak for Guyana that there was a lot of racial turmoil. I read this book called My Fight for Guyana's Freedom. This is a book on the most famous president in Guyana. His name's Dr. Jagan. And the whole book is about diversity and crushing racism, because Guyana was known as the land of six people, where we had Indians, Africans, Asians like Chinese and Vietnamese and Portuguese. You had all these different people coming together, but there was a lot of racial turmoil. And actually there's a history behind it where the British actually pit the Indians against the Africans in order to separate them, because if they were to join forces together, they would overrule the British people. So they had to like split the groups up somehow, and racism was like the easiest way. But if you see the political parties even today, you can notice it. The political parties are basically the Democrats and Republicans here almost. And literally one side is like 99% brown and the other side is like 99% black. And one party is going to vote for the brown candidate and the other party is going to vote for the black candidate, But I think it's changing now. I think they're starting to mesh and meld and, they're switching parties between each other. So it's slowly changing, but there is racism there.
Is there a lot of mixed people that like come out from there? Like,
yep. So they're called Dougla.
Dougla? Yeah,
Dougla. And I think the people that are mixed kind of need to address if they still want us to use that word or not. Because I think it's becoming a derogatory term for them, but I'm not really sure. But that's what we used to call them. Like we used to call us the indentured Indians that came to Guyana and Trinidad from India. We called us coolie, like we're coolies. But like even that word is kind of up for debate now. It's kind of like how, I don't even want to like say it, but it's true. It's kind of how black people use the N-word for each other as a term of endearment. We use it for each other like, oh, like, look at that coolie boy, look at that coolie gal, That's what we say. Like, I have this book here called Coolie Woman. And
you got a library in your house?
Yeah, and she's one of the earliest recorded indentured servants. But like, we kind of have to determine, do we want to use that word coolie? But there are mixed people. And it sucks for them because like some of them turn out to look more like the black side and they get kind of outcasted by the brown side and then vice versa. I actually did an interview with a public health practitioner about diversity in the workspace and she's mixed. She's half Indian, half black, and she's 100% Guyanese. And she kind of talks about it a little bit in there. So yeah, that's a really good question, dude.
You kind of explained earlier, your ex-girlfriend, she was half black and your parents just wouldn't accept her. Have you ever had like a conversation with them, like they're kind of projecting the same type of stuff that you guys are going through, in the sense that like you aren't being accepted by like the Gujarati girl or the Rajput girl. And do you have those types of conversations? It's like, like we're being hypocritical ourselves, or is that just kind of stuff that just gets left unsaid and you just kind of accept it is what it is?
So with my parents, I still mention it here and there. Like whenever we talk, like I'll always bring up anything that they say that might be racist or like, politically incorrect. I'll always correct them. Or maybe there's some kind of issue that came up. Like obviously the biggest one was like the whole Black Lives Matter movement. Like, I had to like really kind of constantly talk about it for them to like finally like open up, because they grew up in such a way where it was okay to be racist, because it felt like that was like their way to like move up in society almost, is to like stay away from certain people. And I tell them all the time, I grew up with black people. All my best friends are pretty much black or mixed with black, and I turned out just fine. And they know that I grew up listening to hip hop music mainly. I have Biggie hanging up right here next to me. You can't see it. But it's like we have all these like black idols and we're quick to like,
they choose to accept what they want to accept, and they choose to like,
yeah,
got you.
Yeah, like it's okay for us to like Will Smith and Michael Jordan, right? But God forbid we bring them home, or their sister or daughters bring them home to like date them, I think like now, if I were to talk to them about it after many years of having these conversations, they're much more open to it. And I've really like changed their mind about things, because nobody has ever engaged them about it in this way. If nobody does it, then they're just going to be stuck in their ways, And so like for other South Asians, my best friend, I tried to, and he didn't accept it. But do you know what made him accept it finally after I texted him like 3 months later? I was like, hey, I don't know what else I can do to convince you that I'm Guyanese, but an example I can give you is that we don't make chai. And he was like, oh. He was like, oh, really? Okay, I get it. I guess you're not Indian. Okay.
What?
I'm like, what the fuck? So wait, like the British Empire wasn't enough of a reason for you to accept that I'm Guyanese, but we don't make chai, so you were able to accept that instead. Like, it's just fucking stupid to me, But like, I think there are a lot of other South Asians that are either open to it or have met other Indo-Carribeans, like your age group, your generation. And I think we're the same generation still. I don't fucking know. But
what are you, a millennial?
Yeah, millennial.
Yeah, millennial goes up to like 38, bro.
I think I'm on the cutoff. Nah.
Yeah, it is. Trust me.
Oh no, it might go up that high, but I think I'm on the bottom end. I might be Z.
But it still feels like there's that generation gap because like you do have like the older millennials and the younger millennials, especially if you're first generation American. The older millennials, I feel like, are still kind of traditionally tied to their culture.
Dude, I see the disconnect happen if someone's like 4 or 5 years older than me. Like they're just like way of processing stuff is just way different. And like obviously we'll get along well, but like when you ask them certain questions, I just see that. And I'm sure it's going to be the same with like me talking to a 22-year-old or 23-year-old. I think some stuff they'll just say I probably just will not resonate with. It's just like a generational gap. You can't really do anything about it.
I mean, I would say to answer your question, it's a mixed bag. Like, I think there are some South Asians that do accept and there's others that don't.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So Lenny, how was it like going from like outside of Philly, like all white, and then going to like U Sciences where like it is like Browntown, like
dude, oh my gosh, man. Like epic cultural shock, yo. First of all, I battled with internalized racism when I was a teenager. I used to say like, oh, there's no such thing as like hot Indian girls, like all of them are ugly. And I used to make fun of the culture. Like I used to make fun of myself, like my own culture. It was bad.
I feel like Indian guys and girls just glow up.
I don't know about all that, Chief. Speak for yourself.
But here's the thing, though. I had nothing to go by because I've seen Indian people because my dad used to be in a band and used to sing for like Indian families and parties and stuff growing up. But that's all I saw. I never grew up directly with any, like only a few. And even in school on a daily basis, never really like had any friends that were Indian and stuff. So I ended up doing my freshman year at Westchester, which was even more white than my high school. I was just like,
wait.
Like,
Were you in the year when Asher Roth was popping off?
Asher Roth went to my high school.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I knew him.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Oh,
yeah. And then when I did my freshman year at Westchester, I blazed with him a couple times, and this dude used to get like so high, and I guess my tolerance is super high, and like I wasn't like spaced out. This dude was like spaced out, and I'm just like, holy crap! I thought he could handle himself a little better, you know. But he was a cool dude. I never really talked to him like that. But yeah, so I went to Westchester, which was super white, not diverse at all. But then I like transferred to U Sciences after that year, and it was like 80% Indian. I think they made up the majority of the student demographic. I was like, holy shit. And I'd never seen like Indian girls that looked that hot before. And I was like, what? I was like, is this real right now? Like, I was like, what the fuck? And then I saw like Indian dudes from New Jersey with like these blowouts. And I was like, what is that?
Is that Pauly D, bro?
Yeah, I had a blowout too at one point.
Oh, you did? I was like,
bring it back, KB, bring it back.
We'll
is
see.
this the thing? And like, I felt like so like not in touch at all. And then like I saw like there was a Bhangra team, and I was like, yo, dude, like what is this? Like there's like dance teams here and shit. Like all of this was like new to me. Like I was kind of semi-introverted, semi-extroverted, but it was like a breath of fresh air. Like I made some really good friends, but like I think that was when I really experienced being the only Guyanese person ever, at least that I know of in that school. And like nobody could like directly relate to me, and like vice versa. But like some of them really did try to like bring me in and like welcome me into the community.
Not to cut you off, but did it feel easier to connect with like a Indian person though? Like obviously I understand like, you know, like the acceptance thing and they're not understanding the Indo-Guyanese, but overall, since you share so many similarities, that type of group is probably much easier to kind of relay your emotions, or is that not the case?
And also going off of that real quick, when you were like dating and stuff, were you just like, I'm just Indian, and like kind of, you didn't want to justify that you were Indo-Caribbean at one point because you were kind of tired of hearing like people just saying that you were Indian, you know? Did you kind of give in to that like mentality?
Yeah. So to answer the first question, my best friend actually in college at U Sciences was white. Like me and him like hung out the most. We related the most. We talked about things the most. Man, for me, like, it's not like I could relate more to an Indian versus somebody that's not. I think maybe it might be me kind of growing up in a culture that like doesn't really have that like super cultural, like, oh man, how do I explain this? Like the language barrier is like an example. Like there would be words that like the Indian people would use that like I never heard of or didn't know what it meant, or like they would speak in their language in Hindi or something, and I'm just like, all right, well, I don't know what's going on right now. Just like examples like that where it kind of made me feel a little disconnected, you know, but I still had some similarities there. But then like with my non-Indian friends, like I could relate to them, obviously, like just being born and raised here in America. So I don't think me being somebody of South Asian descent made me connect any more or less with somebody who is versus who isn't. That's just been my experience. And so the second question, can you repeat that again?
I was just wondering, like you said, you face this kind of backlash whenever you try justifying who you are.
Oh, yeah.
Like you try justifying that you're Indo-Caribbean and people just be like, yo, you're just Indian. Did you ever kind of give into that mindset and kind of just play along with it? Because I'm assuming it's just hard for you to date.
Like to just get a girl just because you really want her, maybe like, yo, I'm just going to play it off. Like,
Yeah. So for many years as a kid, even in college, man, I just struggled with my ethnic identity. Honestly, like I didn't know what I was. And but one thing I never did, I never said I was just Indian. Because if I did, then it would be like, okay, what part of India, what type of Indian are you? Like, what language do you speak? Oh, do you make chai? Like, do you do this or that? Like, there's so many differences there where I couldn't just say I was Indian, and I never knew what to say for so many years. And I would say I'm Guyanese, and I would always get like, oh, what's that? Like nobody knew what Guyanese people were when I went to U Sciences. And there were so many Indian people. I'm like, not even one of you have heard? Nobody. I had to go through everybody like I talked to, like, and explain to them over and over. But I felt like I had to, because if I don't, then who will? Nobody's going to get up off their ass and go randomly Google what is Guyana, like who are Guyanese people. But, after I read these books here, did research, talked to my grandfather's brother who's traveled to Guyana and has even traveled to India where his ancestors are from. He went to the very village where his ancestors are from too. And like I talked to them about kind of who we are. My parents, I engaged them more. They didn't really care because they're from Guyana. But after I told them my story, like being first generation American and like trying to figure out my ethnic identity, I realized that we're Indo-Carribean. That's the term we're supposed to be using. That is the politically correct term to address us. Like it was a struggle. So whenever I would date an Indian person, I would make sure I would say I'm Guyanese, because I'm not going to say who. This is a family member that I'm very close to. She made the mistake of saying that she was Indian, and they got to the point where they got married and he had all these expectations and it didn't go his way. And he started to realize how there are differences with Guyanese people. It didn't work. I mean, can I tell you guys a random story? This was fucking nuts, dude.
Yeah, go for it.
So she's Guyanese and he's not Gujarati, but he was like somewhere in like middle India, I think his family is from. And he was kind of traditional. I think he might be like 40 something now. So he's a little older. But he was born and raised here in New Jersey. And so, you know how like you have the Dhol and how most Indians end up playing Dhol because Dhol is Punjabi, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah.
It is, right? I feel like most South Asians that I see, they play Dhol at their weddings, even if they're not Punjabi.
But there's different forms of Dhol. Like South Asians have their own kind of like drum too. That is like a Dhol that looks like a little bit different than a Dhol, but kind of makes the same noise. Everybody has like, let's just say a drum. Yeah.
Everyone has a drum, but there's differences there, right? Mm-hmm. So he had a Dhol player, and Guyanese people have a Tassa. We call it like a Tassa drum. I don't know if you've ever seen it. You don't really see it in much of India. And it's like one of the oldest forms of like percussion in like Indian music. And we still play it. A lot of the super old traditions, you'll see some Guyanese people still do. And the Tassa band is super loud, dude. Tassa band is like 4 guys, and usually it's like Guyanese dudes. Like most of them are from New York with like tattoos like all over their neck and shit, like ears pierced, like, wearing bandanas and stuff, like looking mad greasy and shit. Like you don't want to fuck with them kind of dudes,
Y'all got like the Samoan like genes within you guys. Like, are you guys built like big, muscular and stuff?
My grandfather, his nickname was the Bulldozer because he was a sugarcane field worker, and he would wake up way earlier than everyone else, and he used to like literally just mow down like a whole field by himself, and he would like carry like bundles and stacks of like sugarcane and just finish his work so early that he would like sleep most of the afternoon while everybody else
that should like skip a generation, because you said your dad's tiny, but looking at you're like
my dad's small, dude. Like, I could pick up my dad like this. He's so small.
Bro, you can probably pick all three of us like that, looking at your arms, dog.
I'm short though. I think I'm like 5'8", so I'm not that tall. But
You're taller than Lucky, man.
I'm 5'5", baby.
You're 5'4". Stop giving yourself an extra.
5'4.5". You gotta round up, dog.
But anyway, going back to the story, I guess like after the wedding's over, you know how like the couple drives off together into the distance. I don't know why they do that because they end up coming back for the reception anyway. So on the way out, I guess he wanted it to be quiet, like no Dhol, no Tassa, like no Dhol from his side, no Tassa from our side. But in my culture, we're always playing it all throughout the wedding, like even when they're leaving, you know, it's like a celebratory thing. Like we're very energetic people. And they were walking out. And the Tassa people, you know, they just do what they normally do. And they started playing as they were walking out. This guy turns around. Mind you, in the front is like my grandmom, my aunts, all like the old ladies and stuff. He turns around. He's like, hey, stop playing this. This is my wedding. And everyone just goes silent. And I'm looking at him like, is this like for real? Like I was speechless, dude. Like I didn't even know what to say. And I was standing right there. I like nobody was expecting it. And he just like gets in the car and like drives off. And all of us were just looking at each other like, yo, what the hell?
That's so awkward.
Yeah, dude, it was so awkward. And then like I'm at the reception. I'm just like, what the fuck, man? Like, I mean, they're divorced today, so it doesn't even matter. But like, is that how much like you don't like our culture? You're willing to just like cause a scene like that, you know? So it's like, this is things that like
projection, dude. Like when I hear this story, obviously I don't know the man. Like when I hear like this much hate within someone, like when they project that much about like something they dislike to a degree, like you hate something so much when it realistically does not impact your day-to-day life, there has to be something internal that's going on. So I don't think it's like the Guyanese culture. I think there's probably just something wrong with that man's.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, when they were planning the wedding, like there was nothing Guyanese allowed pretty much, except for like the Tassa players to play at like certain sections, and that's it. So that's what kind of made me feel like there was some kind of like animosity towards like how we do things and how they do things, you know? Mm-hmm. And yeah, like there was little things like they had to explain to us so many things. Like, is there a thing where you guys like steal shoes or something?
Yeah.
And you have to, like, I don't know that. Like,
wait, there's something. Wait, what?
Where you steal the bridesmaids steal the groom's shoes and they hide them, and then you know you're trying to get your shoes back.
How does Lucky not know this, yo? Lucky is not brown, yo.
Yeah, I did not know the dead ass, yo. I did not know this.
I hate this man always claiming Punjabi, but doesn't know half of like the culture.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You guys gotta put me on.
You're already beyond.
You can't be shaming it. You gotta like enlighten me.
Yo, but to go back to like your dating life, like how has like the dating app scene kind of like played a role? Has it been good for you? Not so good for you? Like Tinder, Dil Mil, all that kind of stuff.
And you didn't have dating apps in college, I'm assuming. You're a bit older than us, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, when I was in college, you needed a college email to get Facebook. That's all we had was Facebook.
Oh, yeah. You were in that era? That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm old as fuck, dude. But you mentioned Dil Mil, and that freaking sparks a fire inside of me, yo. Dil Mil, Shaadi.com. I don't know what else there was, but fuck those sites, dude. No, seriously, because they knew that we were around, right? When they created those apps, they knew that, like, because I saw a shit ton of South Asian ethnicities to select from, even ones that like probably you've never even heard of. And I'm like, if you can dig that deep, where are we? Because all my friends were like, yo, why don't you sign up for Dil Mil? Oh, Shaadi.com, like try it. Like they were all trying it too at the time. It was new at that time, like those sites, you know? And I was like, oh shit, let me go on there. And I went to go register, create a profile. There was no Guyanese, Trinidadian, Indo-Carribean, nothing. I just said, fuck it. I closed it.
So my question to you on that, like, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of fucked up. But do you think, like, from the Dil Mil perspective, is that, you know, you said there's only not even 1 million of like Indo-Guyanese. Is that like kind of taken into account? Because like Indian population is crazy. So even the people that we don't know, they probably amass more than 1 million. So do you think it's also like a population thing that comes into play?
Where was it created? Wasn't it created in New York?
I have no
Dil Mil was created in yeah, I think it was East Coast, but then he brought out it's KJ Dhaliwal like created Dil Mil, but he lives in like SF.
No, like that's like my thinking process. I think it's just more so like population, right? Like obviously there's going to be niche communities within the Indian South Asian hemisphere that like Punjabi people probably don't even know, but their population size is probably way bigger. And I think you kind of mentioned earlier, obviously, you know the facts way more. The Indo-Guyanese population is like 700K, not even a million. And I'm just like, not to like give them defense. I was wondering if that could also play a role into this.
Yeah, I mean, the CEO of Dil Mil, he went to Drexel, he went to Penn State, you know. It says here he worked in New York, where that's the largest Indo-Caribbean population outside of Guyana and Trinidad.
Yeah, there's actually really big. Like I always see like in New York, the houses with the red flags, right?
Mm-hmm. That's Trinidad.
Yeah, but I do see like a big population of that in New York. So that is actually very surprising.
Yeah, so you mean to tell me like he's never met one at least? I don't know. I just find it hard to believe because I met so many.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. You're the first Indo-Guyanese I met, bro.
Yeah, same here. I have known about like the Guyanese population or the Trinidad population in New York, but you're like personally met, like you're the first one.
Yeah, I mean, you could be right, Lucky. Maybe he's just never met that person, but
I'm sure he has a team and some like.
But that's like the company's job to kind of like do that.
That's what I'm saying, man. You have this social responsibility to be all inclusive. You should be including as much of the South Asian umbrella as you possibly can, you know?
Was there not an like other option? You know, some dating apps, like you have race or something, you just select the other. Was there never like, I don't think I've been on Dil Mil.
I don't remember if it has other, but like, I doubt
that's like kind of doing a disservice. Like you're not other, you're like something.
That's a good question though. What do you fill out? Like, yeah, when you're filling out like government forms and all that stuff, because there's definitely no Indo-Caribbean, I don't think, on those. Because even for those, I usually just say I'm Asian.
Yeah, I just say Asian usually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just put Asian because I'm of South Asian ancestry. So that's the closest thing I think I could put.
Yo, where did the second wind come for you then? Because like you said, you obviously struggled with like the fact, like, what do I say? Like Indo-Caribbean, like that's the most politically correct term. When did this second wind come about? Like, was it like after college or like when you're like in your mid 20s or what? Okay. Was it like a specific thing or was it like a culmination of like, you know, I can't keep like going the rest of my life feeling lost?
I definitely felt like I was lost because I would just say I'm Guyanese and like I felt like I never did a really good job of explaining it. And I think it was during lockdown where like I actually had more time to like explore and like find out exactly like how we should be addressing ourselves and who we are. You know, I was in my 30s when I discovered this, you know, and I realized the importance behind knowing your culture, knowing who you are, what your ethnic identity is, and like kind of educating the masses about who you are. You know, I know like some people, like I interviewed that guy that's half Guyanese, half Punjabi from The Bachelorette.
Oh yeah, you were telling us about that.
Yeah, and he felt like it's not our responsibility to educate people. People should go on their own and look this stuff up. But on my side, I'm just like, people aren't actually going to do that. You know what I mean? And the best way to share knowledge with people is through human connection, I feel like. Because then people can relate, you know, the information you're giving them, put the context to an actual face and human.
Is that like what Caribbean Crossroads like is supposed to be like in the between, like for like, you know, I'm sure there's concentrated regions of Indo-Guyanese and like Dil Mil doesn't have that shit. So is your hope downstream for like Caribbean Crossroads? Is it any dating involved, like where it's just like selective to Indo-Guyanese, or is it just more so like you're trying to form like a Discord group, like a community?
Yeah, so it's definitely just a Discord for the community, and it's not just Indo-Guyanese. Like we've had Afro-Trinidadians, we've had Indo-Trinidadians, we've had mixed people on there. We've had, so soca is like one of my favorite music genres that comes from the Caribbean. We've had soca artists from like St. Lucia on there where we interviewed. So it's definitely just like an overall community that is Indo-Caribbean centric, but not focused on it completely. It's for the entire like West Indian community. But I just felt like we needed to make it a little Indo-Caribbean centric because there's not many platforms for us.
Yeah.
You know?
So yeah, go back to that inclusivity problem that you mentioned. Did you just like try to sign up and just like quit or something? Or like, did you?
Yeah. So I tried it with both Shaadi.com and Dil Mil, and this is around the time they first came out back in the day. And both of them, like I would fill out the application, register, and I didn't see an option for me. So I was like, I'm not going to lie to people and say that I'm just like a particular type of Indian because that'll have the girl or her family like have these expectations that aren't real. I can't lie.
But in like the bio part, right? I'm assuming there's a bio part on Shaadi.com. I've never been on that, but like at least Dil Mil, I'm assuming there's like Tinder, right? So there's gonna be a bio part. You never tried to kind of put something else and be like, yo, like I'm actually this.
I don't know how it is now, but back then, like you had to select your ethnicity. So it's like if people filter on a specific ethnicity, then I'm gonna be filtered out of everyone. You know.
How about like Tinder and Bumble? Did you ever like mess with that? And like, what's your opinion on those apps in terms of like this hookup culture?
I think Tinder definitely caters to the hookup culture. I think Bumble's a little better because it gives the female more power and control. I do like that, like, I don't really have to like put my ethnicity. Instead, like in my bio, I just put an American flag and a Guyanese flag, and that's it. So I do kind of like that. I think Tinder is kind of similar. I don't think you like really select like your ethnicity. I think you can just type it in if you want freely, however, which way you want to like identify yourself, which I think is a little better to make it free form like that. But I think there are like advantages to like having that ethnicity selection if you have a preference. I don't think there's anything wrong with having preferences. I think there is stuff wrong if you do have internalized racism. That's kind of like an issue I like to talk about because there is a difference between preferences and internalized racism. So
I'm surprised it's like 2022 and they like, I'm assuming these dating apps like Dil Mil haven't changed or like felt any social pressure from people to like add or include more people.
Yeah, I mean,
have you checked back or not really? Or are you just like over it?
No, I'm still on dating apps, but I'm not like super active.
You mentioned you're an ambassador of one. What's that about?
Yeah, so Single to Shaadi, which is a South Asian matchmaking platform. Radha Patel, who's the CEO, they actually recently got acquired, so now she does it full time. That was a huge accomplishment. And she recruited me because she didn't have any males on the team, and she was looking for a male ambassador. And, you know, I think she never really told me like why she chose me other than the fact that I'm a guy. But I think she chose me because I'm like I'm very different. I'm non-traditional. I'm Guyanese.
How did she find you?
She found me on Instagram because I post like Caribbean Crossroads stuff and like stuff about like, you know, being Guyanese and all that. And I think she just came across my profile.
She just wanted a bulldozer, bro.
Yeah. I think she had mutual friends too, or something like that. But I think the person I am kind of aligns with like her mission, which is creating this modern South Asian matchmaking service that is all inclusive to everyone, whether you're Guyanese like me, or you're gay or lesbian, or you're divorced, or you're a single mom, or, you know, things that maybe you might be traditionally outcasted as being a South Asian person. You know, she will include that. Like, she has ethnicity options there. And there is one for me, you know. I found that like totally awesome because it's like, what if a Guyanese person goes on her platform and wants to find another Guyanese or Trinidadian person? They can if they want to, you know. Let's say you wanted to find like a Punjabi person, you know, you can select that. You can have that option.
Has she found you an Indo-Guyanese girl yet?
She hasn't, because I'm not on it yet. You guys aren't the only ones that ask me this, because it's like, oh, you're an ambassador for this platform. Like,
yeah, what does that mean? What does like being an ambassador mean?
Being an ambassador means you're just standing up for the brand. You're just representing the brand. If people ask for you questions, and like, you're there to support it, and you're there to help maybe even sell it.
Yeah, it fits your values too, right? You said that inclusivity and like the recognition of these different ethnicities. And I understand that you like really like kind of connect with it.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm aligned with the philanthropy behind like what the company stands for. I feel like she caters to like our evolving South Asian culture. And I think that's what the Brown Boy Chronicles does too. You guys talk about our culture a lot, and it's because we're changing. Just because we're supporting this change and evolution doesn't mean we have to denounce our culture. You know, like our parents might look at us as non-traditional South Asians that are kind of doing a disservice to the culture, but we're not. We have a high respect for our culture still. You know, it's just that a lot of us are born and raised here in America, and we kind of have this dichotomy of like two different cultures that we're raised with, you know. And for me, it's three different cultures, because it's like the Indian, Caribbean, and American side. So who knows like what else other people are kind of experiencing. And Single to Shaadi is kind of a platform that respects all of those factors. And I was just like blown away, because I was like, whoa, this is something totally different. It's not just like a swiping app. These are actual matchmakers that are doing a proper job of vetting everybody and like making sure that like, all right, let's analyze like these two profiles, these two people.
Wait, is it like Prem Jyotish type shit? Like they look at astrology and all that, or
no astrology, no astrology. This is like realistic shit. You know, this none of that like astrology stuff.
You don't believe in horoscopes?
I personally don't. I mean, I think it's a fun way to analyze like personalities, but
what's your sign?
Gemini. I'm a Gemini. So like I can give you an example. Like we had a guy that lied about his age, and you could never tell just by looking at a sheet of paper. Like we actually do background checks and like make sure we like vet who we have. Like it's actual legit people looking for legit connections.
Are you gonna like submit like a W-2 or something?
I forget exactly the process because I never did it myself, but it's
you can't dodge this question. Why hasn't she found you an Indo-Guyanese girl, bro?
Because I never asked her to.
He's not on the platform.
Yeah, I'm not on the platform. So
are you like kind of like us, where it's like you're kind of not down, like you're not against it, but you're really not down for like a matchmaking service? You know, for me, it's like I'd rather just find it naturally, or hopefully I can find it naturally. And like that's going to be the last resort, like a matchmaking service. Like hopefully it doesn't get to that, you know?
I agree.
Matchmaking is still kind of natural though. Like they're just like
it is
pushing you towards somebody that they believe is like aligned with you. And after that, it's all you. You got to take it and create a natural bond.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is more of like a modern way than like going to India to find a match, but like the indie matchmaking show where they're fucking, you know, just going to different houses, meeting families and stuff, and you feel awkward.
Yeah, but the parents are not involved. Like these are people just trying to go on dates with each other.
Yeah.
You know? But like this isn't just about like, oh, let's go on a date. These are like meaningful, conscious dates we try to set them up on. It's not like they're two random people around the same age, like around what they're looking for. Like we make sure that like, oh, this could potentially go somewhere. Let's get them to go on a date, or at least talk to each other and let them take it from there. But like there's coaching that they offer. They even offer, I think there's like a profile review that you can use them for. Like if you want help for like your dating apps, for instance, like on Bumble or something. And these are girls that are doing it. Like, you know how many guys out there like post stupid shit like on their profiles that girls aren't looking for? These are girls telling you this is what they're looking for. Yo, let us look at your profile. We'll fix it.
Wait, what are girls looking for? Asking for a friend?
I don't know. I don't know, man.
What's your type? What are you looking for in a female?
In a female?
Like what's your type? What's your preferences?
Oh yeah, wait. Hold on. Let me get this out of the way why I'm not on Single to Shaadi, because I know people are just going to continue to ask me anyway. The reason why is because I don't really like long distance dating, and Single to Shaadi is open to that. I've tried it like 2 or 3 times before in the past, and now I live in the city. I don't have my car here in the city. I think it's a little tougher for me to long distance date.
Can't you just limit that option on the app? Just be like, yo, I don't want long distance. I only want close.
But then you limit your pool so much. You know, so I do think you have to be open to that. And also like, I kind of like been out here on these streets, you know, I feel like I'm not really like, I feel like I have to make sure I'm like consciously completely clear. My plate is clear and like I'm in it for real. Like I'm
Are
taking
you still going through like your fuckboy phase?
I feel like I'm reliving it. I feel like I'm going through like, what is it? It's not a midlife crisis, right? What is it? A quarter life crisis, I guess.
Yeah, quarter life.
Where I feel like I'm kind of reliving it. Like I'm going to the club with my boys still, kind of partying on the weekends still. Like my cousin, he's older than me and he still DJs, and sometimes he'll DJ in Philly. I'm like, yo, I'll see you there, man. Like I was like,
wait, are you in Philly right now?
Yeah, I'm in Philly. Yeah.
Oh shit, I'm in Philly, bro. We gotta link up.
Yeah, we should definitely. I'm like right off of Fairmount Ave, 19th and Fairmount.
Okay, I'm like Reading Terminal Market.
Okay, that's not far.
Yeah, when you end up making your profile, let us review it. We'll help you out.
But yeah, that's like part of the reason why I feel like I need to make sure I'm taking it seriously and I'm being for real and upfront if I'm gonna go on the Single to Shaadi platform. Like I don't want to be like some kind of fuckboy on there that's like not really like taking it seriously. My heart isn't 100% in it, you know.
Have you ever met an Indo-Guyanese girl, like where like there was a slight connection, or like has that never occurred?
I don't think it's ever occurred, man.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really met like a true Punjabi girl that I had a connection with, so maybe Single to Shaadi might be the move.
You guys are hitting those streets of New York.
Yeah, honestly, bro, like every time I go to New York, I meet a Punjabi girl. In Philadelphia, there's not that many.
There's hella.
I literally don't see them. I don't know where they're hiding,
It's
bro.
because you go to like bars that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
facts. Change up your scene.
Put me on. Tell me what scene.
Yo, go out with Lenny and his cousins.
Yeah, like I feel like if I did meet a Guyanese girl that I had a connection with, obviously, like I feel like it would naturally flow from there. You know, I wish I could. If I lived in New York, I definitely would have, like, huge population there. You know, but it's just like there's barely any here. But yeah. So what was your question, Harvey? My bad.
Like, what are your like preferences that you're looking for in a female companion?
Honestly, like minimum a bachelor's, right? I feel like that's pretty standard. That's just like some kind of college education, at least something to like lean back on. Somebody who's ambitious, you know, somebody who's active, because I feel like if they're not, then I'll probably not be, and I don't want to be lazy for the rest of my life. You know, diabetes runs like really bad in my family.
It's all South Asians.
Yeah, it's most South Asians, so it's like, you know, it's good to have like an active partner just to like keep you healthy and stuff. So that'd be important. Somebody who's like not too far away, because I don't really believe in horoscopes, but like I heard Geminis are needy, and I think I'm a little needy. So like I need.
Is New York too far away for you though? Because you said there is a big population. So
It's like a 2-hour train ride.
So I was actually talking to a girl from New York, and she was Indian, but I tried it, and like I just felt like it was too far for me. I don't know if I'm too lazy to travel or like what it is, but like I just felt like New York was too far for me. For most people it's not, but like for me, like I want to be able to like be like, hey, do you want to like do dinner?
That neediness coming
and
out.
and say, yeah, it's that neediness, man. Like that's just how I am. Like I need to see my girl, you know what I mean? Like I need to be
feel
able
that,
to see
dude.
her.
I think, yeah, initially for like the connection and bond to form, I think you definitely need that like closeness, being able to like, yo, hit them up, like, yo, come hang out. And then if you have like a couple of months of that where you have that original closeness already formed, then I think it's easier to transition out into long distance. But to go from long distance to short distance is harder than going short distance to long
I
distance.
think both are feasible. The heart grows fonder with distance.
That's true though.
yeah. Also, if you're in love, like 2 hours is nothing. You know.
It's really not like honestly, if I met like the Guyanese girl of my dreams, like New York, I would like be up there like every weekend probably, right? Like you got that motivation to go. But like I actually did date somebody virtual for like a few months.
Only virtual?
Yeah, it was only virtual for like the first few months, and like we would do like dinner dates virtually, play games virtually, like just talk, sit down and talk.
How
like,
far
it
was the distance?
She was like an hour and a half away.
What?
And yeah, it wasn't that far. But
Why
like,
y'all going only virtual? Like, is there no urge?
It was during lockdown. It was during lockdown, so we couldn't really see each other. So once like she got comfortable to the point where like she wanted to see me in person, we actually hit it off. So like I think long distance and like or like virtual could,
because you're
work.
like forced to converse and you're forced to like stimulate each other at a distance, right? So like, because the conversation runs dry. If you're at a distance and you're not like talking about anything, then you're gonna get bored of each other. So like, yeah, I think it definitely is like beneficial.
Man was definitely in a love lockdown, huh?
and you know, single to Shaadi, like we've had people long distance and they just spend that beginning time to just talk and like get to know each other, FaceTime, like Zoom chat, whatever. And then they end up like making a date to like see each other. We've had that happen, you know. So
Do you still like play like the question game with girls at this age? Do you know the question game?
Nah, what's that?
Dog.
Where you just like ask funny questions? Like, yeah, that's so like high school or some shit.
Yo, I don't know. Like, I feel like I did that up to like pretty late. I mean, I guess I.
What were you like?
That.
Or you were like, yo, let's play the question game? Like, come on, man.
I mean, yeah, that was like always my go-to. It's like when you pretty much going back and forth with like simple ass questions, and then you get like real serious real quick. I feel like it's a good way to like whatever, like figure out like where a person stands and whatnot.
Oh man.
My mind just goes to dirty places because I feel like when I've heard it in high school or something, they just always ask like the most head ass questions like towards the end of the question game.
Fact is like, what's your favorite color? And then like, what's your favorite meal? And like, how many bodies you got?
Yo, that's what I mean. It just always goes to extreme, dog.
Yo, this is kind of random, but like, what's the sports scene like in the Caribbean? Yo, like, cause I got horror stories of like having a middle school Trinidadian coach. Bro, he was fucking a beast. Like he had like I don't know, how old are you like in middle school? Like 12, 11. Bro, we were doing like hills. People were puking, and like he's like, nope, keep running, guys. Like no matter what weather it is, like we out still having practice. Like, bro, it was like the most strictest. I was like straight terror stories.
It's mostly cricket actually.
Oh, damn. True.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a national team?
Yeah, the West Indies.
Oh, shit. True.
Yeah, and there's some Indo-Carribeans on that team too.
Yo, is there a term for it? Like, I don't know, in your culture where it's like, you know how you have Habibi for like Arabs or like Muslim people? Yeah, is there a term that y'all use? Like, because you said like light skins are called, I forget what you said it was called. It started with a D.
Not light skins, people that are mixed. Yeah.
Or the mix, yeah, mix.
Yeah, they're called Douglas, or like in the Indo-Carribeans are called coolies.
Yeah, so is there a term for that, like the Habibi comparative?
I think Habibi just stand alone, bro. That's just
Habibi's
like,
male, right? Habibti is
Habibti's girl, I think, yeah.
We just say like we say bye or gal.
Gal. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah,
Gal means girl.
Rude boy.
Bye means boy.
Oh, okay.
Or or brother, right? Like bye, BHAI. Yeah, but we say like bye or gal. Like
What is bumba clot?
I think that's mainly from Jamaica, and I think it just means like outrageous, person, outrageous something, you know.
Dirty wine?
I don't know. I don't really know. Dirty wine?
y'all got a music scene? Like
Yeah, chutney. So like chutney and chutney soca. Yeah.
Oh shit! You gotta
They named it after. It's not that. For me, it's not really for me. There are like a couple good songs.
but is it like islandy? Is it like what's like genre?
Chutney and like chutney soca music. It's made by Indo-Carribeans, and a lot of it is literally old Indian songs that they like kind of change the beat and change the lyrics. There's a lot of that. Like people kind of despise them for that all they're doing is just like rebranding old Bollywood songs. And they're like,
what does that mean? Like just like adding like steel drums and shit?
Sometimes steel drums, the percussion is a little different, but the melody is the same. And they'll sing it in like English or something. Like they'll add their own words. But like people kind of don't like it because they feel like it's not original. You know, there are some original songs out there, but like I don't think it's original. Like you're just copying a Bollywood song and you're just putting like English words in there.
What about like the dance scene? Is it like hypersexual, like super like touchy?
Yeah, like I mean, I think because like we're in America more, I think they try to like be more conservative and like dumb it down. But if you like get into like the deepest, darkest depths of like the Indo-Caribbean scene, like we're like whining, like moving our waist, like I've got exposed to grinding when I was like 5, I think. Yeah, at like a wedding. Like I didn't even know what it was, and I was like, oh shit. Well, you know, when middle school came around, I was already prepared. Like because everyone was grinding in middle school at like you know middle school
these girls on, bro.
So like yeah, we were like definitely a little sexualized for sure, and like I think a lot of Indians like didn't like that about us. You know, like the way we dance and stuff. They kind of view it as like vulgar. Like even my mom doesn't like it at all. Like she doesn't like a lot of things about her own culture. You know, but I just look at it as fun. I like it.
Sick. We might have to pull up to a guy in club, yo.
Yeah, so we do this thing called Songs of the Week that we've been doing this season. So we basically just pick out a song that we each been enjoying like this week or these past couple of weeks. I'm going to start off. My song of the week is Chase Shakur. That's the artist name, and it's called Too Far Close.
So I'm going to Spain this weekend. So I've been like listening to a lot of Spanish music, like Spain music, or like this girl. Her name is Aura, AU/RA, and it's like dance music. But the song is called I Miss You by Jax Jones and Aura. Y'all should listen to that shit, bro. Put you guys on.
Lenny, you got a song that you've been like constantly just listening to?
There's a couple. I mean, I've been blasting that Kendrick Lamar, The Heart Part 5.
Do you like that?
I thought it was pretty good. I liked it. I've been playing the Jack Harlow and Drake song. That was pretty good.
Bars.
Yeah, it's that was like bar after bar. Like I think that's what the purpose of the track, to be honest. It's just bars. Yeah, it's not like a summer banger. Like
have you seen the little like short clip of them like recording the music video?
Nah, I didn't.
It's only like the part of him like doing the whip and like the spitting, and they're doing it at the Kentucky Derby, and it's fucking like it's intense.
Yo, you know what song I've been blasting though for like 2 weeks, and I just discovered it? Freaking Diljit Dosanjh and Tory Lanez.
The Chauffeur.
Chauffeur. Yo, I love that Chauffeur song. That shit goes so hard. Yo, that beat is fucking fire. I showed it to my dad. I said to my dad, I'm like, yo, listen to this. He was like, very good, very good.
That's sick. My song of the week is Coco White by Jalen X Jordan. Like 2 people. Fire.
What kind of song is it?
It's just fire.
Well, yeah, thank you, Lenny, for coming on, sharing your story and kind of giving us a glimpse of your life and like the dating culture within your scene. You know, honestly, I learned a lot because like I said before, like I'd never like really spoke to an Indo-Guyanese person. So I didn't know like that's how it really was. Like, you know, until you like speak to a person, you don't really kind of fully conceptualize like, you know, what they've been through. So thank you for coming on and sharing your story, man.
Yeah, of course. And like, thanks for like being so open-minded. You know, I know you guys are like majority Punjabi and you talk a lot of things about your culture, but it's just so refreshing to see you guys like being open to like what else is out there too. And like just discussing like the whole South Asian umbrella as a whole, you know, because I just feel like none of us are carved from one stone. You know, we're not just Indian. We're more than just that, you know, so I appreciate you guys for sure.
Thank you for tuning into Brown Boy Chronicles by Harvey, Lucky, KV, and produced by Deech, who you can find at Drawings by Deech. We are available on all streaming platforms. Please rate and subscribe as this helps us grow. And lastly, please follow us on social media, which can be found in the episode description. If you'd like to collab, slide in the DMs or hit our email at brownboychronicles1@gmail.com. Till next time.